Good morning, everyone. I would like to start with, can I start with prayer? Do you mind if I start with prayer? Just to tune you in. These are from my book, The Power of Holy Language. And this prayer is called A Time for Holy Listening. Lord, today I enter in silence. Today I listen for the sound of how you express yourself in my life. In ancient days, you spoke through the wind and through fire, through storms and the movement of the sun. And the ancients saw you everywhere and in everything, and they recognized your presence in nature and in the forest and in the whisper of leaves rustling to silent breezes everywhere. Our thinking today is that they were foolish, frightened human beings, little more than cave dwellers wandering a primitive earth. But perhaps not. Perhaps they were filled with clarity, unencumbered with doubt. They stood on a silent earth, a clean, pure earth, empty of noise. Everything was fresh and unpolluted. They saw you everywhere because you were everything to them. They recognized their vulnerability and were filled with the humbleness that came with dependency upon sacred power. I do not know how to listen for you fully yet in nature. I've grown accustomed to listening to my mind for instructions. I do not know how to find you in the many distractions and the noise in my mind. I do not know how to be silent fully and completely from within. But I will begin by creating a silent world around me. With closed eyes, I can imagine myself approaching a holy well deep within me. I drop a single pebble into that well, and I listen for the delicate sound of one pebble slipping into the softness of the holy center of my being. And there, in the sacred, silent inner place, I shall wait for you. You know, I'm going to begin this morning by describing holy language for you. I want to frame that, and I thought I'm going to do something very bold that I've never done ever in my life. I'm going to read how I describe it in my book, which is not published. I just sent it to my editor, and I haven't done this yet. I may get kicked in the tuchus for this. But there are many types of holy language, and I want to give you a frame, and then we'll take it from there. So this is from chapter 2, and I'm just going to describe it the way I present it in the book, if that's okay with you. Okay, the soul has a language of its own, as rich as the language of poetry, love, romance, and as essential as the language of the psyche, human anatomy, and every other area of expertise. All the many specialty languages have words in common as well as words unique to that field. This is true for the language of the soul. Of all the specialty languages that exist, however, only the language of the soul is holy. Holy language is holy because it's a conduit of grace, of hope, of inspiration, and the possibility of divine intervention in our lives. Holy language, unlike any other use of words, provides the means through which we can access the divine. Holy language is comprised of the many forms of expression we use, such as prayer, chanting, and chanting with the intention of reaching through to the realms of the sacred with the hope that the divine will respond to our call. A prayer for help, for inspiration, for guidance is said in faith that in some unexplainable way that prayer is heard and assistance is given to us, specifically to each one of us who asks for aid. The holy language of prayer is a conduit of divine intimacy, a means for asking for and receiving guidance that is given in ways often hidden to the individual. We thrive on holy language in any of its expressions, the graces of faith, hope, trust, inner counsel, endurance, and fortitude, among so many others, soothe our inner lives unlike any other force. The divine bestows these graces upon us abundantly because the journey of life is often and so easily experienced by us as difficult, unfair, unjust, frightening, hopeless, isolating, lonely, and even brutal. Ordinary words shared in conversations frequently fail to comfort us when we are weakened by such life circumstances. But an infusion of grace delivered to your soul telling you, you will get through this. You will. This will end. Somehow shifts everything, and just like that, hope is ignited. We are spiritual beings, and holy language is our nectar. So, there are core expressions of holy language which I'm listing, though not in order of importance. The language and wording used in sacred rituals. Sacred rituals span the cycle of life, including birth, marriage, ordination, last rites, bar and bat mitzvahs, confirmation, confession, healing rituals, the closure of life, and less familiar rituals such as exorcisms. That is also holy. The sacred rituals of Wicca, Druid, and all traditions associated with nature. Personal sacred rituals. Now, all of you have a sacred ritual in your life, or 2 or 3, even if you don't know it. The way you get dressed in the morning, do you have a ritual? If you don't think it's sacred, you are mistaken. If someone tampers with your rituals, I assure you, you will let them know. I assure you. I, for one, need a long runway to lift off in the morning. I need it because my day is so busy. My day is so chaotic. I have so many phone calls, so many emails to attend to, so much commotion at the human level, that the time that I know I won't be disrupted is early in the morning. I need to get up very early to get myself ready to teach, ready to be social, because I am essentially an introvert. I am a creature of the inner world, and I have to rev up to become a creature of the outer world. I don't socialize much at home. I live alone. And I prefer a very quiet life. I never go to parties. I keep a very small circle of friends. So I'm an introvert. So for me to extend to a circle of people takes a lot of effort. And I find that is exhausting. So I need a long runway to lift off. So it's a ritual for me. Now, all of you have those rituals. You have sacred objects on your desk, if you have a desk, but most people have a desk, or they have a dresser, and if people tamper with those things, who touched them? Who touched them? You are without mercy. Without mercy. Someone can move your shoes, it's not a big deal. Someone touched your sacred objects. And only you know why they're sacred, but for someone else, they are a dish. They're nothing. But for you, you have infused them with something that they are channeling, a memory of a beloved. The energy of a sacred place you've been to. This bracelet has the Madonna on it from places I have been that means something to me. She's the Madonna of miracles. And I know how powerful she is. But it probably means nothing to anybody else but Beth. But I know who she is. So we all have that. And you have that. We cannot live without it. Regardless of how you have separated from anything traditional, you cannot separate from heaven. It's not possible. Not even atheists or agnostics, who usually are separated from a traditional church. And quite frankly, I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. But you cannot separate from the holy cosmos. You can separate from the language of it. You can separate because you have an issue with priests, or you have an issue with, you think it's all about money or all this. But you're being pedestrian and you don't get it. You don't get it. Most everybody I know, let me reframe this for you. Are you married? Let me reframe this for you. I've been teaching for some time. Decades. I'm into my second generation of students. And without a doubt, the majority of people who have wounds that they share with me, these wounds come from their childhood, which means they come from products of bad marriages. Bad marriages. Marriage is a sacred institution. Now, sacred. So you would think that in keeping with throwing out everything else sacred, that they'd throw out marriage and say, oh, duh, I'll never get married, just like the church. Duh. But they don't. Why not? Why haven't we tossed that institution out along with everything else? It has violated people. It is the source of incest, more sexual crimes than you can shake a stick at, more betrayal, more violence than you can shake a stick at. There's nothing the church has done that could compare with the violence in a marriage, than the brutality and the violation of children. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But people flock to it. They can't wait to get in it. Oh, yeah. People can't wait to get married.
I wish my daughters would get married.
Well, and there you go.
They don't get married anymore. They just...
But that's your daughters. But trust me, people are getting married all the time. Look at all the dating services. Look at Match.com. It's an industry. So do you understand? It's just a very curious thing, how we have relegated what we resent about the sacred and what we don't. We're very site-specific. And what it is we resent, and that's what I will explain to you, is the organization of sacred ritual and who's in charge of us and who's dictating the nature of God. That's what we don't want. Okay. Another form is individual prayer. It's sacred ritual. Meditation. Holy rituals around holidays and other celebrations. Now, how many of you have sacred rituals around your holidays, or do you just have a holiday, or do you do nothing at all? That's a lot of questions in one. How many of you have a holy ritual around a holiday? How many of you have no holiness about the holiday at all? It just comes and goes.
I don't know if it's holy. It's ritual. It's cultural.
It's cultural.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But
there's
I don't
nothing
know that
sacred about it for you.
Yeah. Try.
Yeah,
Good.
it goes like this, but you have to
So I happen to be Jewish, but I don't necessarily subscribe to everything. But there's
But
culture.
Hanukkah,
Yeah. So there's.
do you like the candles?
Yeah, we do.
Well, there it is.
But I don't know that it's sacred.
It is. Trust me. It is. That's sacred. Okay. You may not want it to be, but it's too bad. Okay. The language of prayers and inspirational writings of spiritual teachers. How many of you read spiritual teachers? Mystics, poets, writers, any of that, you put sacred language in you in one way or another. For how many of you is that important? Do you find that I need that vocabulary in some way? That it does something for you that other words don't. Now that's an important thing that we're going to focus on a great deal. Did you notice the difference between the vocabulary used by the spiritual writers or inspirational writers and what that does for you versus the vocabulary that is in just ordinary writing? That it actually seems to change your bio-spiritual chemistry. And I'm going to emphasize this because what holy language is vocabulary. One of the things I want to talk to you about is that what got me into this, and I'm going to shift when I'm finished, we're going to go, is that I noticed that people didn't have the vocabulary to heal. They didn't have the right words in their head. That it wasn't that no matter what they were trying, they're homeopathics, they're this, they're that. Part of the problem was they didn't have the words in their head. They didn't have a holy enough vocabulary. And just as a disclaimer, everybody knows I come from a Catholic tradition. That said, there's nothing about what I'm teaching that comes from, that I'm not like out to make converts. I teach from all traditions. And number two, I believe the era of religion has come to an end. It has come to an end, and that's part of the rocking and rolling in the heavens that you are actually experiencing in your psyche, that we are actually living on the earth, that it's the end of that era of traditional religions, and that we're shifting into the era of bio-spiritual, the ecological nature of God. I find it thrilling. The church doesn't, but I do. Okay. The language, another form of sacred, is how it's in sacred music, sacred dance, art, and these are the three, among the three oldest expressions. The art in caves, the dancing. Another is action made holy through intention. Through intention, in any way, knowing or even unknowingly. For example, when we act with holy intention toward others, in private, publicly, when we are expressing holy language through our intentions, praying for the healing of someone or sending loving or positive energy or thoughts, as we often tell people to do when they're going through a difficult time. The holiness generated through the language of action, for example, acts of human compassion, courage, sacrifice, anything like that. That is a form of holy language. People who offer their homes to those in need, any kind of physical presence, anything, any act of kindness, any way in which we are of service is living holy language. So it's not just what you speak. It's how you perceive. We are now, I want you to shift gears. We are now in the era of the psyche. We are now in the era of subtle, where we are relating to each other as much in energetic dialogue as we are in physical. We are in, another way to put it is, we are in the era of multi-communication. We are in the era of hologram. So that the loudest language we speak is the silent one. where when we are with each other, no matter what you say, what you are transmitting is far more accurate than what you're saying. Which is why, how often do you walk away from someone saying, I don't know, it didn't feel right, or I don't know, I felt like I know what I heard, but I felt like what was being told to me, or it didn't feel, every one of you knows what I'm talking about. But what you need to know is that's how people are reading you. You need to know you are, it's so much fun. Whenever I say this, people go, you're kidding me. That you don't get that you are as transparent as others are to you. You are just as transparent. People are reading you all the time. You don't have a secret, and that's alarming. That's alarming, isn't it? Isn't that alarming? Yeah. Here's something that to keep in mind that may, just like the new rule. And we're entitled to privacy. I don't think that that's something, but not secrets. Secrets are dangerous things. Secrets say you're up to something. They belong to the shadow. Privacy belongs to the light. Privacy is a matter of respect. You don't have a right to read my mail. I don't have a right to read your mail, or bust into your bedroom, or go through your closet. This is your private life. But if in a family or in a close relationship or in a business, secrecy means you're up to something, or secrecy means I'm up to something. Except a birthday party. You understand? But secrecy means you're heading toward the dark passage of privacy. And that's when and someone can sense when you're up to that. You can sense it. Anyway, but the area of holy language I became most intrigued with is how we use the language of the holy in our everyday life, in our everyday thinking, and how it filters into how we make decisions. Does it influence us? Do you pick a word? Do you use the words in any way to form the sentences, like when you're making a decision? Do you pick a word like, I have to think about this? Or do you say, I need to reflect on this? Each word is a different universe. Think is a fast word. Reflect is a deep word. Reflect has grace to it. Think has nothing to it. Think is mechanical. Reflect is holy. And it creates a whole different atmosphere within you. Now, I need to hit the pause button there as I kind of give you this, and I need to take you back and talk a little, and then and add some details here about the larger context in which we're living, and then bring you into you, because it is extraordinary to me how much we don't realize the world around us and how much it's influencing us, because we don't see the forest for the trees. Day by day goes by, and we don't realize what is changing around us and how that is changing us from within, and how very much this world has changed. And we need to understand from a different perspective the handiwork of heaven in this world that we're in. And you need to maybe get a lens on how the handiwork of heaven is involved in what we're doing, so that we don't just translate events on earth through the eyes of human beings. That's the most dangerous place you can go, because you'll fall into the trap of what Buddha calls illusion. And that's when you'll lose your power the most. So, okay. Now my trusty pen. I know that many of you have been with me before, and it's very endearing to my heart to see you here again. But may I ask who's never been with me? Okay. I start with, I always caution people, I have very few drawings for which you'll be very grateful. But the ones I do have are pretty useful. And I like to start with my building. Everybody knows my building. But this is you. Here's the penthouse. And I'm going to be referring to this all the time. And the reason I use this building, and I hope you take it with you the rest of your life, is really so effective. Because we really do live in our own building. And every floor is a different view of the same world that you live in. Every floor. You look out a different window in a building, and someday actually do this. Someday, with a view in mind, actually do this and take an elevator to a different floor and look out and actually appreciate the different vista in the same building and actually tell yourself that you are looking through yourself. And that if you pushed yourself through an idea that you know is not real, the landscape of your life would expand that much. It would expand that much. That it would be that incredible. That in the first floor of your life, it's important to understand you take everything literally. You need to get that. You take things at face value when you're on the first floor. And when you're on the first floor, your 5 senses are at their maximum speed. Maximum speed. And your soul is way in the background. So when you're in the first floor, this is really, really, really where your 5 senses will tell you. Your appetites are on maximum level on the first floor. Your cravings are on maximum level. So if someone said it's not real, that's where you're going to put up the biggest argument, is on the first floor. Right there. When you are craving sugar or craving honey, that would be me, or going into any kind of argument with somebody that something wasn't fair, that something was unjust, that it shouldn't have happened to you, you are on the first floor. So everybody has an apartment here. And this is the place in your life where you want things to work out just for you. Where you want to look out the window and you actually think the world revolves around you. And that's on the first floor of your life. On all of the first floor of our lives, we look out the window, we see the smallest possible world, and we can't figure out why it doesn't revolve around our front lawn. Okay? This is also when we look at the world around us, from our first floor, the world around us. This is where you will tend to read the newspaper and believe what you read, because it brings the news to your door. Well, that's what's going on. I read it in the paper. Okay? I remember when I was growing up, my grandmother, all my grandparents came from Europe. And my grandparents, it was, going to college was a big deal. My grandparents were all from farms and, immigrants, and they came over when they were 15 and 16. I still can't get over it. And the older I get, the more incredibly impressed I am with the journey they made, Really brings tears to my eyes when I think of the journey they made as kids. And so college, They didn't even go to high school. They didn't even have you understand? And, but for my grandmother, especially my Busha, going to college was great, but then you got married. You got married. This is how life was. The first floor dictated how life was. She also believed that if you read it in the newspaper, it was so. So whenever she wanted to manipulate, she'd say, I read it in the newspaper. So when I went to graduate school, that was something she never even heard of. A school after a school? Going to school in your 20s? What was that? That meant that you was too stupid to get, right? Something went wrong in your teenage years if you were still in school. That was my grandmother's, right? What's wrong with you, you know? So I told her, we went out to lunch, and all my other cousins by my age were engaged and off and marrying doctors, right? I mean, I could have been the person who discovered, the cure for cancer and ended world peace. And I was nothing next to the woman who, an ex-con who married a doctor. So anyway, I'm out with her, and I said, Busha, I'm going back to school. And she looks. She said, what's wrong with you? And I said, nothing. I want to go back and I want to study this. And she had a martini. And she goes, and she looks at me and she says, girls who go to school too much die young. And I said, what? Where did you hear that? I read it in the newspaper. I'll never forget that. She enchanted me. She enchanted me. Her name was Caroline. She enchanted me. I adored her, but she made things up. And she cheated at cards. And she taught me to play poker. But that's your first floor. And I need to emphasize that because it also has a vocabulary of its own. It has a very sticking vocabulary here. This is your vocabulary of superstition. This is the vocabulary of how you know God in superstitious language. And it's thick in you. It's in your DNA. This is the God you fear. This is the God. I have a friend, one of my dearest Jewish friends, when he talks about God, he throws salt over his shoulder. I said, why do you do that? Well, keep away the bad spirits. Superstitions. This is the part of you that actually fears that if you get too close to God, God will take your money. This is the unconscious fears that you may not admit to, but yes, indeed, you have. And this comes from the teachings that go a long way back in our traditions. That say this is the part that believes if you're a good person, bad things won't happen to you. How many of you have that? One person? 2, 3, how many of you have that? All right, I'll do it a different way.
Right.
I'll get you. How many of you have ever said, I don't deserve this? Hands up. Or have ever said about someone else, they don't deserve that. Whether it's you or someone else, you have that little formula in your head that someone doesn't deserve something because they didn't do anything bad. Well, who's in charge of that mechanism? Where's the keeper of the deserve lever? Ooh, it goes that way. It's God. Because someone's the keeper of that deserve lever. Someone pools it, and that's God. And that is right there. And that's in your first floor. And that is attached to your sense of what makes justice or injustice. It goes right to follow the thread. You know, you follow the money, follow the thread. And this goes to how you have constructed a whole cosmic court. The judge, the jury, and what you think how the world should run in terms of what is fair and what is not fair. And that is totally constructed for you in a cosmic court around the God you think lives off planet. And whether you believe in a religion or not is irrelevant. You have a cosmic off-planet God that operates a courtroom. And in this court, bad things should not happen if you are a good person. Oh, no, they shouldn't. And if they do, you want justice. And further, because you buy into this mythology, because you buy into this, you really feel you are owed an explanation. You are owed it. And you should be given some kind of recompense for suffering. By God, you should be. Because it happened to you. Or am I wrong? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. This explains the human condition. This explains vengeance, our inability to forgive. This is life on the first floor. This is life on our first floor. This is what happens when we think we're the center of the universe, and that the world was created for us, and that everybody else's life doesn't really matter. Ours does. Ours does. That they're not allowed to make any mistakes or have any bad actions or have bad childhoods or be beaten up. What only matters is what happens to us. What happens to us. It's only our safety that matters. Nobody's allowed to leave us. We're allowed to leave them. And as much as we think, I know people have stories of the most brutal, wicked, hideous, heinous childhoods. I mean, God, look at these stories we hear where the police discover kids that have been held captive for years and years and years, and you think, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, how did that happen? Look at those women that guy named Castro, Ariel Castro, had tied up for 10 years. My God, these horrible people that kidnap women and do that. Okay. The extremes to which human beings are capable of abuse is off the charts. But still, that does not say there is not a God. It says we are incredibly dark and have an incredibly dark potential, and it's in all of us. We may not be capable of that, but we're capable of reaching our own extreme, wherever that may take us. And that's what is true. I don't know what my extreme is. I do know I haven't been there. I do know I don't want to go there. But I suspect in my own way, my own extreme is as ugly as that person's extreme is, given a ratio of what ugly is. Do you understand? Okay, So that's what we have to kind of get. Now, that's what happens when what we learn from this is when we take the world literally, and when we expect this world to be a place that it is not. Like Buddha would say, when you take everything literally, it will hurt you. It will hurt you. When you take an illusion literally, it will hurt you. When you take everything personally, it will hurt you. Because there's nothing personal in this world. Nothing. Nothing. Not even your body is personal. As outrageous a thought as that is. Here's a huge thought. Not even your body is personal. The physical body was not created for you. You've got one in this life. But the physical biology system was not created for you. We all got one. It's our traveling package. But the physical body was not created for me. This is just the package we come in. Do you understand? It's not personal. I'm not the only one with 2 legs, 2 arms, 2 hands, 2 eyes, 2 ears. We all have it. So there's nothing personal about my design. I have a personal look to my design, but my design's not personal. Do you get the difference here? Medicine is based on the fact that there's nothing personal about our bodies. Now, as we go up each floor, the vocabulary changes. Just like it would if you look out a window. All of a sudden you can see water, or you can see a river, you can see the Hudson. You can't say Hudson down here because you can't see it. So that word doesn't fit here. But as you go up in yourself, you're going to change vocabulary. You're going to change perspective. This is what's so significant. And with perspective, you change power. You become empowered. You are powerless here. Come here, get that. You are powerless here because you're looking out. And when you're looking out, everything looks, what you're doing on your first floor is you are looking at everything that has power coming toward you. Coming toward you. Every person. You're afraid of every single person. And on your first floor, every one of us looks separate because I'm looking at your form. I cannot see your soul. So I don't use the word soul. Because I'm looking at your form. I'm looking at Josie. I'm looking at Colleen. I'm looking at your forms. There's nothing I see. I can't see through you yet to our energetic connection. And so I have to look with my 5 senses. And because I'm looking through my 5 senses, my lower frequencies would be scanning you through my lower frequencies, sensing for, and here's an operative word. This is a first column, first floor word, danger. That's not a holy word. That's a survival word. That's not an inclusive word. That's a separation word. Now, I need to add something here. Here's you. There's you. Every word you say, every word you think is an act of creation. If you see a human being and you decide that person's danger, you send a signal. You're sending a signal. You're sending a signal to yourself that you are now in a defensive. It's an illusion. What is dangerous about any of you? What is dangerous about, have you been jumped by most people you've met in your life? Have you? Have you been beaten up by most people? But I bet you've told yourself you're intimidated by most people, only to discover they've been harmless. They've been harmless. They've been totally harmless. And yet that's not what you told yourself at all. And so the signal you gave out and the order you gave out to yourself was to hemorrhage. Was to hemorrhage. Was to create a circle of fear around you. And to vibrate that fear. That's the power of the words you used. Versus the language from up here, which is holy language. Versus the capacity to see through a field of grace. Grace. This is the word energy, but up here is holy. This is the word grace. Okay, so now I'm shifting gears and going to a larger overview, and we'll get back to that. But isn't that interesting? Okay. Now, yesterday I was talking about the significance of this moment in time. I need to take us back there for a moment and bring it through again and just get this one thought form as an active, maybe it's two, whatever it is, but I need to just download this. In the 1960s, late 50s, 1960s, but mostly the 60s, several, I think, significant things happened. Now, you know, history is everything. And if you look through history, there have been these time periods where events happened or groups of people came together that served as like perfume catalysts that shifted history in like explosive times, like the Renaissance, where you had a Michelangelo and a Da Vinci and a Christopher Wren and a Bacon, and these great minds came together and they stirred the pot, and that happened. And then you had the middle 1700s, when you had the humanistic era, and Hume came together, and the writers of the humanistic that introduce a thought that the human spirit has fundamental rights. And out of this comes democracy, comes the Declaration of Independence, comes the French Revolution, comes this Thomas Jefferson and Madison and Monroe and Washington and Hamilton. And where did these people come from? Franklin at the same time, giving birth to this idea of a conscious democracy that then inspires the French Revolution, that then inspires this idea that human beings have rights in the soul, that cannot be tampered with. Right. Don't get me started. Okay, we'll just eclipse that. Now, But this is another such era. This is another such era. We are living another such era. We are in it, and you're part of it. And in the 60s, a thought form was dropped into us that never existed before, that was never animated before, that was never ever animated before. And that thought form was that you participate in the creation of your reality. Now, you may just think about that now in some way as if you have a right to do whatever you want. You may have edited that in your head somehow. But the truth is that one thought is a high mystical truth. That our soul participates in co-creation. What is wrong here? Could you fiddle with that lock so it just... That our soul participates in co-creation. Now we have to examine this because everything in your life, everything that is changing in your life, everything in your health, absolutely everything in your life that you experience is tracked to that one download. Absolutely everything. Everything that motivates you, every impulse in you, every illness in you, every single moment of depression is tracked to that download. Now that download happened just
I fiddled and it didn't work.
just as we came out of and into the beginning of the nuclear age. Can we get that taken care of, please? Just as we...
Could you repeat that, please, Carolyn?
Yeah, can we just finish that, please? Okay, thank you. Just as we got that, as we enter into the nuclear age. Now, here's the significance of that. I want you on the first floor. In the nuclear age, you know that that happened in 1945 when we dropped the bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So on your first floor, I can give you the physical history and the Oppenheimer and the laboratories and all of that. But you're missing the point. So get in your elevator, and I want you up on the penthouse. And in the penthouse, we now talk about the mystical significance, the archetypal, what it means for the evolution and what it means for the soul. What it means when an event like that happens. On your first floor, in your life, you can share the details. You can tell me the details about what happened to you sometime, in whatever. But I'm not interested in what happens on your first floor. I don't care what happens. I am interested in you being able to get to your penthouse, to be able to take any event that ever happens to you, no matter what the event is, and disassemble the physical components so that you remove the soul of the event and place it within the cosmos so you can get the symbolic power from it, so that the event speaks to you as a code, and you see how somehow you are participating in something larger than yourself, so that you can see what your role is, and you are not consumed by your role, destroyed by your role, but you rise to your role. If you stay within the event that happened, and you can't get over the costume you had to wear, you will rot in your costume. You'll rot in it. And you'll keep telling people, look at my costume. Look at the role I had to play. Look at the role I had to play. Let me tell you the story of the role I had to play. I'm in my victim. Let me tell you again about my victim. All right. This is me. This is what will happen if you talk to me that way. That's as much attention as you're going to get from me. Ever. What I'm interested in is the jewel from that role. Do you not hear something?
Yes, somebody's music.
Okay, so it's not. Okay, so it's not me. Okay. It's not me. Okay, so we are Is everybody here? So anybody who's trying to get in is an interloper. Okay, so we're going to ignore that. All right, now, okay. When on the penthouse, the significance of this nuclear age is the story of Prometheus stealing the fire. We stole fire, but the fire is we stole. We developed the capacity to destroy ourselves. That shifted in humanity while we slept, while the world slept, at the collective. We created the means to destroy all life. And for the first time in the history of humanity, we outdid our destructiveness, and we couldn't, and we don't have the means to create the antidote to the disease. We can't create a way to undo what we've done. That has morphed us. That has morphed us. We have two wheels in us. We have the wheel to survive and the wheel to create. These are the fundamental instincts in us. They're two instincts. And they've always served us equally, like this, like a left and a right foot and a left and a right hand. No matter, it's going to flood, Noah builds an ark. I mean, it's always, right, from the get-go. This time, there's nothing we can do that outdoes us. And we have grown so we think that they won't be used. We just go about our days as if no one's going to use these weapons, forgetting they have been used. Forgetting that you don't create weapons not to use them. You create weapons to use them. We actually go about our day planning our futures, having babies, as if they're going to make it. As if they're going to make it. As if we're never going to use these nuclear weapons, when in fact, from the time they were developed, the whole history of our civilization has been the history of preventing people from getting that fire. From getting the fire. As soon as we abandoned the Kurds, the next thing was, oops, we left 50 nuclear weapons in Turkey. Uh-oh. Now, here comes a nuclear-sized thought form that heaven drops in. You guys create your reality. Get going. Up the ante on your power. Wake up. Wake up. No more passive. No more who's out there on the first floor creating my world for me. You do it. You do it. The only way we are going to survive this moment is by becoming creatures incapable of destroying each other. That's it. The only way is that we have to evolve past the point of hating and fearing each other so much that we actually think we actually stop looking through that first floor and we finally get through the Buddhist illusion that we are different. We have to finally get the mystical truth that what is in one is in the whole. That as I do to you, I am doing to everybody. We have to finally get that all life breathes together. That as we heal one, we heal everybody. And that unless we heal everybody, we will never heal ourselves. That we will never break through illnesses at the fourth floor unless we take everybody with us. We will never find cures for certain illnesses because we need to take everybody with us in order to find the cures for cancer, in order to find the cures for epidemics. Epidemics are collective. In order for us to break through the consciousness of those viruses, we need a collective breakthrough in the consciousness of how we see each other. And then we'll get the vaccines. We need to stop fearing each other's survival in order to heal each other. If I hear one more person say, there's just too many people, that's like saying they need to be killed and I don't care how. Do you understand? And if people believe that, we accommodate it. Well, then keep cancer. Well, then keep diseasing. What do you call this? Epidemics. But when they try out things on them, experimenting. Okay? You get how this works? Now, in creating our own reality, that thought form dropped into you through holistic health. It could have come in any door, but in the brilliance of the universe, it dropped in through your health, through the door of personal, through the door of, as if the universe said, now how are we going to put this in you? How shall we drop this in you? And it dropped it in through your bio-spiritual ecology, through your individual little planet, through you. And it awakened in you this hybrid ego that we began to call the inner self. Oh, look at this. I've discovered I have a self in my inner. And we began to talk in the 60s about our inner self. More than an ego, less than the soul. And now we get to the upper deck, the middle deck, like the third floor. We started to see the world through our inner self, all about us. And we developed a whole new vocabulary. Well, it's all about me. Enough about you. What about me? Me, 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 me. Let me tell you my story. All about me, 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 me. Hello, here's about me. And we discovered what everything's about healing. We became and still are obsessed with healing. But really, come up to the penthouse. What was that about? What that really was about, and this is the genius, this was our beginning to discover how we work. how we work, how our power works, how our soul works. That every word we say is an act of creation. But our playing field, our classroom, was our biology. Our classroom is our health. Our classroom is our mind. Our classroom is our suffering. Our classroom is our relationships. Our classroom is our distribution of power in our lives. This is our classroom, our individual classroom, to discover the power that every word we say seems to have consequences. Every choice we make seems to be an act and consequence. Magnetic attraction. Thought goes into form. Our personal lives are little bitty classrooms of how this spiritual, ecological, biospiritual sphere of the earth, our micro-earth, works on the macro-earth. And that is the next expression of God in our lives. The divine organics. So we're moving out of the era of religion, where God is up there in a half God, half man, invisible, whatever, to the visibility of divine organics within every single choice we make, every single action, every single act of nature, where we get, I am one with nature. I am one with every plant. I am one with everything. I am one with this universe. The very teachings of Buddha, the very teachings of Jesus are now actually incarnating into your breath, into absolutely everything. We're, like Teresa, look for God in the tiny detail. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. We do indeed create our own reality. And one of the ways this is, has begun to manifest, and I watch it in people. One of the ways this power is talking through you, where you are discovering, you know how children, when they're 2 years old and they're discovering the world and they think, oh, do I eat this? Do I hit this? Do I break this? How does this work? 2-year-olds are so funny because they don't know what to do. Does this go in here? Does this go in here? They're just, bang, bang, boom, boom. We are the same way with the power of our soul. We're like 2-year-olds going, does this word work? How does this word work? What does this word create? And the way we're going about it is we're going through our shadow, or we're going through, we can't get over. Someone says, you'll never become anything. I can't, and you can't get over those words. Look at how powerful those words are. You can't get over the power of words said to you. Look at how and people are missing Penthouse. You're missing the lesson. See how powerful those words are? But they were said to me. Shut up! The lesson is how powerful the words are. Who cares if they were said to you? Of course they were said. They had to be said to someone. They were said to me. Oh, for Christ's sake. Get over yourself. This is the classroom. If you don't get over yourself, you'll never heal. Why do you think it's such a big deal that they were said to you? It could have been said to anybody. You're supposed to learn how powerful a word is. How will you ever learn if it wasn't said to you? It's like getting a knife. Knife sharp. Sharp watch. Da-ha. You stabbed me. No, you idiot. I'm showing you that a blade is sharp. Get over it. This is a classroom on knives. You have to be a certain maturity to be in a classroom where everything's impersonal. Nothing personal about a class in knives. Huh? Nothing. You come in here and you take it personally, you're going to fail me. You're going to fail. Are you with me here? Yes. So all the words in you that are sticking, And we're going to do an exercise. I need to see the stick. You need to find the things that are sticking in you. You can't get over someone said this word to you. You can't get over it. You have to go vacuum. You have to go clean yourself out. I can't get over this word is still in you. Stop it. You're going to go on a vacuum cleanse. That you can't get over. Someone's, how could they have said this? I'll say it. I'll repeat it. Somebody said, how could they say that to me? I said, I'll tell you what. Bring me the insult in a box and we'll deal with it. Bring it to me in a box. If it's such a big deal to you, put it in a box and we'll have lunch over it. But unless you can put the insult in a box, you can't have lunch with me. So she wrote it on a piece of paper. I said, no, that's a piece of paper. That's paper. That's not the insult. I want the insult in the box. Unless you can put the insult in the box. I said, you can't write on a piece of paper. That's a piece of paper. I didn't want paper in the box. I want the insult. She said, well, I can't put it because it doesn't. I said, it doesn't what? Well, it doesn't. I said, it doesn't what? It doesn't exist. You have to keep conjuring it up. You have to keep imagining it. And that's exactly right. You have to keep making it up. You have to keep telling it. As I said to someone this morning, I think I told Leslie, healing requires you tell us your story, your wound 3 times. That's it. The first, to God, so you could scream, how could you do this to me? The second, to a group of people, because you want to see the shock on their face that anything so horrible could have happened to you. And the third time, you tell it to yourself. To yourself. In order to inspire yourself to get rid of it and to get going. So 3 times, and that's it. You don't get a 4th time. Because after the 4th time, you're turning it into a narrative. You're logging it in as a story you pull out for entertainment, for sympathy, for pity, for you're getting something out of it. At that point, the wound is secondary to the benefit. And you have no intention of healing. And as soon as I hear that someone's telling me something for a benefit, I shut them off. Because that's an act of compassion. You are not, and you know, it's like when I was in India one time, one of the times I was in India, and Sai Baba said, don't you dare give money to a beggar. Don't you dare. And I'm telling you, I witnessed women with little babies starving. I'm telling you, starving. They were starving little babies. They were bones in their arms. And to walk by this is so anathema, so against. And he said, no. He said, the only way to stop that is to not feed it. He said, you can't feed it. If you give them money, they'll just keep doing this, as hard as it is. And he was right. He's right. You can see when someone needs to tell their story for healing, and you can see when they're going to tell their story for attention. You have to be very discerning in your heart, very, very discerning. You have to be very strong. You have to know what you're doing. But you also have to tell yourself, I'm about to tell my story for attention. What am I doing here? So the 3rd time you tell your story, the 3rd, it's time for you to release it. Because you talk to God, you talk to others, you've had your witnesses, your holy witnesses. And if you need to process it with a healer, with a therapist, if you need to talk make sure that, well, we'll deal with that later, but make sure that the reason you're going there is not to stay in the past, like, how could they do this to me? How's she supposed to know? What's the therapist supposed to tell you? It's not about how anyone could do this to you. You're on the first floor. What? The therapist said, because you're one of those people. You're just lucky, I guess. Or you're unlucky. Or you're one of those people. You know, or healing is about you saying, I got to find some new language. I got to get out of this language. This language is not getting me off the first floor. I got to get out of here. I got to get out of the vocabulary. This vocabulary is locking me into self-pity, first floor, to feeling bad for myself, to thinking I'm the only person. All I want with this vocabulary is for people to come and say, oh, how could I have done this to you? Okay. Now, enough of that. We create reality. That is the most powerful teaching that has been dropped in. It is the counter to nuclear power. It's the counter. So all of you have been inspired, motivated, and are driven by that one thought. That somehow your reality is in your hands. Every one of you. Now, whether that inspires you or scares you, motivates you, drives you, that is your main bullet. That's your main battery. That's it right there. And so from that time on, that one thought is what is driving us, because that's the soul talking to you. Your soul is saying, you're in charge now. You're in charge of this power that I am in you. You're in charge of the power that I am in you. You and me, we've got to get to know each other. You have to realize that every thought you say is a command. Now, as a result of the thought that we create our reality, downloading that truth, it's not a thought, that truth, we started to ask different questions that are right out of the mystical playbook. For what reason was I born? For what reason did you give me life? That's not a question, it's a prayer. We became obsessed with seeking our spiritual path, not religion, but a spiritual path. We became obsessed with it, with trying to figure out, where do I go? We did an exodus from traditional religion, but where do we go? Now this is really an important, this is pivotal right here, extremely pivotal. Because just as we start awakening and feeling like, just as the size of this thought is erupting in us, the size of literally those explosions in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, we create our reality, is just boom. What also awakens in us is our intuitive senses. They just turn on like the electricity on a grid. And all of the senses behind our eye go on. Just imagine, prior to World War II, people were not multisensory like that. They did not think of themselves as intuitive. They were not thinking of, they did not say things like, they didn't think of their psychic senses, their intuitive senses. They didn't talk about, just imagine how we changed in 2 decades. And we catapulted ourselves from one level to another. Think, in this brief window of time. Do you know how short a handful of years are? From 1948 to 1963, this brief window of time, this tiny window. The end of the diaspora happens and the 12 tribes of Israel return. And Israel's a nation. you need to come to the penthouse. The significance of that. The Dalai Lama leaves Tibet. You would never have heard of the Dalai Lama. Never, ever, ever. So now you have one tradition. You have the next tradition. The Nag Hammadi and the Dead Sea Scrolls are discovered. Two very, very, very different perspectives on the teacher Jesus. The Synoptic Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, they're a historic gospel. Jesus was in Galilee, Jesus was here, Jesus was in Nazareth. These are mystical teachings. They don't have it, they're not GPSs. Okay? It becomes possible in looking at the Nag Hammadi and Dead Sea Scrolls to imagine a different being, a cosmic being who at the same time was married. That in fact he did have an ordinary human life, but a profoundly cosmic soul. And that was his role. His role was to illustrate what it was that it is possible to be on this earth fully human and fully cosmic. That it is not about incarnating and baffling each other by saying it's either one or the other. Well, then what are you doing here? What'd you come down here for? To tell us that being human's all screwed up. That has never been the right message, as evidenced by Christianity being so screwed up. It has never been the right message. Never. And you can never have the right message when the message is delivered only through one sex. And I say this here, not from the first floor where you'll hear it, oh, those damn men. No, no, no. I'm speaking to you through the penthouse. I have no idea what evolution or God had in mind. None. But in this first era, coming out of the Judeo tradition, and maybe coming out and into an era where the external world was still the warrior place, it seemed that the men were still the scholars. So it would become the men who took up, and they became the evangelists because they were the literal. But the Greek schools educated women in Athens. The Greek schools had educated women scholars. They were brilliant, but they wouldn't somehow. So it was the male that described the male nature of God. And it evolved to a story of the heavens taking half God, half men, and then finally incarnating one as the last half God, half man. And it could be that back then, the incredible miracles that Jesus did could only be explained by that distance. But as healing has come about, as these years, centuries have evolved, and what this pivotal moment is about understanding the message that he said, oh, you do this too. And just like Buddha said, I'm the finger pointing at the moon, don't even consider going there with making me some kind of God. With both these great teachers saying, this is how you are designed. This is that moment where something in us, even if we wanted to continue to follow the myths of these churches, They don't fit in us anymore, and we don't fit in them. I love the church, but I can't fit in it. And I am someone who is not angry with it. But I get that it's time for the lights to go out. So in those 15 years, again, the pivotal time when the universe is pouring out the mystical literature, go, the Dalai Lama, go, open up the doors of the mystical tradition of Christianity, open up the doors of the mystical tradition of Judaism, open it up, pour it out. Send the East to the West, send the West to the East. Open up the soul and get all the mystical traditions out that you can. Open up Sufism, open it up, get Rumi into the world, open up. We cannot afford to not become whole. Now is that moment where all the mystical teachings of these great traditions are what we have to jam into and awaken our soul and become one. Because what they all teach, what all the mystical traditions teach, every one of them, is the power of all 7 chakras. They all have, from the Tower of Babel to the Teresa and her mansions, to the 7 sacraments, to the Jewish tree of life. They've all woven every single, to Pythagoras and the music of the spheres, to we are a system of a cosmic 7. This is the new bio-spiritual. This is the language of your soul. This is where you learn, oh my God, what is in one is in the whole. I am interconnected with, this is the new theology. As I heal myself, I'm healing everybody. Of course people are horse whisperers. Of course people are dog whisperers. We are one with nature. This is the new theology. It's a bio-spiritual theology. And the new language goes all the way up. And the more you put this language in, the more the trees and the animals all, you start speaking and resonating. It isn't a language here, cognizant. It's a language through your soul. And it takes you a while to refine the strength of your soul. You need a titanium backbone, because one of the things that is absolutely the truth, as you become one with the whole talks to you. And I will tell you, the pain of that will break you in half unless you have a deep prayer life. Unless you have a deep prayer life. When the mystics said, when Francis said, when Padre Pio said, when they talked about, oh my God, the pain of this is a little bit more than I can handle. I used to think they were talking about frying up on a grill kind of thing, but it's not. It's when you understand that the animals are saying, help, my environment's going. They're talking to you. And you have to have that kind of ego that is far more than the first one that says, oh, if I don't do it, nobody will. You have to get out of yourself and develop an impersonal ego that says the prayer, use me today. I'm not the be-all and end-all. I'm only here for a little bit of a time, but for the time I'm here. Use me until you call me home. That's how you pray. You don't pray to be noticed. You pray to be of service. I need you to do an exercise. And I need to frame this for you. I deeply believe everything about your life, everything that happens to you, every relationship you have, absolutely everything is all about you learning about the power of your soul. Absolutely everything. Everything can be tracked to that. Everything is about you learning how powerful every word you say is, how powerful every word you say, how powerful everything you think is, how powerful the slightest thing you tell yourself within the privacy of what you think is the privacy of the world behind your eye, shifts your mood into a deluge of self-pity or raises you from the dead. That the only thing this time is about us discovering the power of our soul. I had a question on break that I do want to address, and that is, what is a ritual? I mean, what is, how did you phrase it? Is every ritual sacred? Was that your?
Is holy language necessary a ritual?
Is holy language necessary for a ritual?
Yes.
To make a ritual? No, because I think you can have, birthday parties are rituals. Birthday parties are rituals, anniversaries are rituals. But I think that, and they're not necessarily holy, but they are precious. But when you invoke the sacred, you're turning a ritual into a sacrament, meaning a something sacred in which you want the presence of heaven there. It's like the difference between taking a vow. What is a vow, right? What's a vow and what is a civil service in a marriage? What's the difference between getting married before a rabbi or a priest or a shaman and just getting married at court? And in one, you're including your soul in the marriage, and the other you're not. In one, you're saying, I want heaven to witness the bond of our soul as well as the bond of our mind and our body. And a judge can't do that. A judge can't be a celestial witness. A judge cannot call the heavens and say, come on down here and witness this. But a priest or a rabbi says, on behalf of heaven, we are blessing the union of soul and body and life. Yeah.
Caroline, is it because when we first create a holy language, it's not actually words, it's actually images that we have. So the language of the
anything.
spirit is images that then manifest in the body as words and how we step out into the world. How we step out into the world, but it starts in the energy spirit
Right.
as
It starts
images.
in the energies.
Because the language of that world is
Right.
images, isn't it? It's not
Right.
words
Right.
as on a page.
Right.
But then it manifests out
Right.
into the body,
Right.
soul, walking out into the world.
Yes, and you know what? Because of that, I'm going to say that I'm going to reconsider what I just said and say, you know what? A birthday party can totally be holy. You adore that child and you think, bless this child, and that's holy. So yeah, I mean, I think because it's holy intention, you can bring the sacred intent of everything, absolutely everything. I'm not sure the ritual of gangs. It starts with holy intention and prayer. Bring the presence of God into anything, and it's going to be holy. So let's just say it that way. And let's say it that way. That's it. Bring the presence of God. God be with me in this, and bingo, it's a holy ritual. No matter what it is. Yeah.
So does that mean if you're in the casino and you do this ritual?
I see those sportscasters get on their knees. I mean, what do you call those things? Athletes. And they, and they think God chooses sides. And come on. That's just nonsense to me.
Ritual, not holy. Would you agree?
That's ritual, and that's just nonsense. That's first chakra superstition nonsense to me. Now you're dealing with superstition.
Right.
Yeah, just like, no.
Would you also say that describing new ecological, spiritual, what's the environment, what's the term you're using for spirituality?
Oh, biospiritual
Yeah.
ecology.
Would you agree that perhaps that's actually quite ancient, that indigenous people on this very land
Yes.
we're standing on
Yes.
would have had a faith in the
Absolutely,
cosmos?
absolutely. In fact, so much so, I was going to actually talk about that and how at that, but not right now after lunch, that era is something we're returning to. That's how pyramids were made and monoliths and, yeah. But first you. Now, because this is this era, I believe, of all of us learning that every word packs a punch, you need to go find words inside of yourself that pack a punch. And nothing works like a little exercise. So what you're going to do, and then I want you to partner with somebody, but some of you have come with friends or partners, and so you can't do exercises with friends or partners. Are we agreed here? And my preference is that you find somebody, and it's good right now, because right now there's a lot of you that haven't met, so find someone that you haven't even spoken to and just grab them and say, you, sit. Be like me. All right, so the first is, I want you to go inside of yourself, this vacuum cleaner, and find 3 words, 3 phrases, 3 words that you're holding on to that people have said to you that you just can't let go of. Something that you resent. That if 3 words, or pending that, the words that you would say, how dare you say that to me? If you've ever said that. If you can't figure out that, then try this one, which is this. That's it. No one. I don't let anyone say that to me. That's simply not allowed. Anything. Everybody has something like, that's it. They just can't. I just don't. That's where I draw a line. Like nobody could call me a trumper. Okay, but you all draw a line somewhere. Like what is it? What is a word that sends you over the edge? Or what has someone said to you and you think, they said that to me and I just can't, that's it. They said this to me. Something you can't forgive, something, you got it. 3, put down 3. Or I heard this person say this and it changed my mind about them. It's the power of words. The power of words. And then 3 words you've said that you wish you could take back. Because they changed your life. 3 words you said that you wish you could take back because they changed your life. Or 3 phrases, or.
It's almost like the energy behind it sometimes is worse than the word.
So the word is the conduit for the energy. Words are flying carpets. They're mastacholi noodles that contain you. They're like mastacholi noodles, and they're hollow shells, and you put your energy into each word, and you animate it, and it flies. It's just a flat thing in a dictionary until you pick it up and go, travel. That's what a word is. It carries it is a container of your spirit when you use it. It's how often we've said, I wish I could take that word back. Think of a phrase or maybe words that you used and you know it changed your life and you wish you could take it back. Even if you come up with one, but come up with some, because even if it's to yourself, or you've given yourself permission to do something stupid and you regret it. And one way to kind of help focus you is how many of you are holding on to any unfinished business at all? Okay, well, go into that door. Because that's where you'll discover how you are talking to yourself about something somebody has said to you. Or something that's been done. Or you'll find a dialogue in there somewhere that you will not let go of. And now, while you're doing that, here's the last part of the exercise. In your first floor is the way you see the world literally. There's no truth in those windows. I have to emphasize that. But that's not something you get until you actually look through the window and experience, take a window out and bring it to the classroom. So I want you to go on your first floor and select a window that you look out of, and you know everything you're looking at is an illusion. But every time you look through it, you believe it anyway. So go find a window in your first floor. Every time you look through it, you know it's an illusion. But you believe it anyway. It casts a spell on you. It makes you feel bad. It ignites self-pity. You start to believe, I really am getting old and I'm useless. I saw that window. And you're right, yeah. Okay. Or, I really will be abandoned. Or, these are the first floor windows. Or, you watch those awful commercials for health and you think, oh my God, I won't have insurance and I may as well throw myself off a bridge. All the first floor windows that make you feel insecure and awful, fragile. So I want you to take out one of those windows and bring it to class right now. Go get one of your windows. Another window. Oh my God, I look out of the window and awful people are coming over the border. That's one, we have those windows in the US. It goes both ways, but I get, it's funny, but I like a cooler because I get very warm when I teach. So I hope you're not uncomfortable. But. Yes?
This is a tad of sadness.
I'm sorry?
It's sad.
It's sad?
Yeah.
What's sad?
Just writing the list. Just writing the list of things that that are illusions that you're allowing to have power over you. It's a little sad looking at the list.
But you know what? Once you start talking about it and you get it out and you realize it's kind of like getting a cavity out.
Right.
And then you get it out and you realize, oh my God, what was I thinking? And then you get it out and you think, I'm free of this.
Yeah.
This is what's true. This is the truth. How does grace work? Grace is addictive. It's the best addiction in the world. And the thing about grace is grace transforms you in a second. Grace, what I want you to become so aware of forever and the rest of your life is that the phenomenon of grace is that it works in the immediate. There's no such thing as grace in your history. Grace works in the now. In the now. It's always in the now. It's in the moment. It's in the moment of our conversation when you're talking to me and I know you have a mystery in your heart and I have to say, God, grant me counsel. What do I say? Or you say to someone and you know they're confused and you close your eyes and you say, God, grant me counsel. How do I speak to this person? How do I help this person? Grace works in the present. Always in the present. And it always works to transform the moment you're in to the better, to the light, to move you forward, to put a spark, to open your heart, to heal you in the moment. There's no such thing as grace that routes you to your history. Grace is present. If you have a lot of history, you will always be going this way, and you won't be here. So for you to start excavating your history, all you're doing is going toward grace. All you're doing is going toward grace.
It's like 5 years of therapy in
Yeah.
3 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how I think. That's me. I always work fast.
Thank you.
I always work fast. Absolutely. Why take 3 years when you could take 3 minutes?
Right.
I've said that before. I'm a confectioner oven. Got it? And grace just don't take a long time when you could take a second and get into the power of who you are. Got it? That's how grace works. You're going to get addicted to it. Really, you will. Move fast. Move with God. You have too much to do to live in your past. There's nothing there. You've been there. You've done that. Now, when you're done, I want you to find someone to chat with. So I can go eat some more peanut brittle. No. No, I can't. Find someone to chat with. Yeah, right. You can see each other later. Bring your notes.
I'm Michelle. Yes. Nice to meet you.
Okay, and I. Yes. Do you need somebody? Do I have a stray? Do I have a stray? Do you have a partner? Or you have a partner? Okay. I need. Okay, can you handle one more person? Don't you want to sit down? Okay. what? I'm going to add something. If I may add something. If I may add something for a minute. Hello everybody. Hello. Thank you so much. When you're talking about words and how they've influenced you and what you hang on to, add like what it means to give up using a word in your life. Now, words are the tools with which you construct your reality. And every word you use is a brick in your reality. It's like a brick you use. So if I said, give me the color red, you can never use the word red again, ever. And everything attached to red, all the memories attached to red, all your wardrobe attached to red. Right now, I'd take your glasses and your blouse. And everything in your house that's red would be mine. Everything that you associate with red would be mine. All attached to those 3 letters. Everything in your consciousness that you associate with red, everything you've ever seen that was red would suddenly evaporate. That's the power of a word. One word. That one thread. So when you are dealing with what one person said to you, think, how dare they say that word? You're dealing with a universe, not a word. You're dealing with a universe because that word is attached to everybody who ever said that word to you. Which is why you can't let it go. You don't get why you can't let it go. Now I'm telling you why you can't let it go. This is not a casual thing. You have to take that word and look through it and say, who else is in that word? Who else is in that word? What else is in that? It's like the way mushrooms grow with the tentacles under the earth. It's attached to every tree and everything. It's everywhere. It's in all your cell tissue. That word has formed you. That word is in your cell tissue. It's in every memory and every thought, and every time you've used the sentence, it's hit like a homeopathic treatment. And it's activated a cell memory. Your biography is your biology. So when you use that word, and it has a first floor literal memory to it, or use that phrase, or use that tone, how do you create your reality? You create it through words. You create it through how we form something. We create it through the tones we use. We're so fragile that you can knock someone down by doing this. That's it. That's how fragile. A sound can bring you to your knees. That's how powerful you are. All you have to do is look at someone and go, and you've crushed them for life. The sound vibration. You've taken a human being down. If you don't think you're powerful. I mean, and do you know that the same thing is your capacity to heal someone, to reverse it with the right word at the right time. That's how powerful you are. This is what you have to learn. You are this kind of vessel of power today. This is the power running through you. And with the right prayer said at the right time, God, grant me the grace. What do you want me to do here? You may just hear, say the word yes. You have no idea what's attached to it or what grace is running through you. You have no idea. But what you do have to trust now is what is in one is in the whole. And even by treating yourself with compassion when you are angry at yourself and deciding, I'm not going to be angry, or deciding I'm not going to get angry at Sheila. That in that moment when you say, oh, that I am healing 1,000 Sheilas that day by withholding anger. That what she represents to me symbolically is really what I'm healing. And everybody else who has that particular sorrow that day is getting released from that because I'm praying for that day. And she's now a channel to that. You have to see clearly that that's how we're attached to each other. And not through the lens of the first floor, which is it's just between me and Sheila. No, it's between the archetype of what she represents to me in that moment. And instead of responding to Sheila, I see symbolically through her to all others. And now I reach through the prayer. I see through the soul that is in me and in her. And what she activates in me is my impatience. And I bow to that. And I pray. And it goes to all the souls dealing with that stress in that moment. That's how we are. Do you get it? And then we bow to each other. Then I get it. Now I know why we met. Because you bring out my impatience. And through that I heal impatience. Now, go to work. Okay, talk to me. My favorite part of in workshops is getting to know you. I know all about me, but getting to know you. Tell me, did you learn anything about yourself you didn't realize? This is important. Yeah? Good? What did you learn? What did you learn?
Well, I started out by saying that I was intimidated by my ex-husband.
I'm sorry.
I started out by saying I was intimidated by my ex-husband when he would start out to say, he would use my name, he would say, Gail, blah, 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 that you can't do that. And that would hurt and intimidate me. And then as we were talking, I realized that my big brother had done that when I was growing up. And I never had even thought about that before.
Okay. Whoa.
Sorry.
And that. So and those words were still stuck in you.
It was the tone.
It was
and
the tone.
The condescension.
Yeah, the condescension.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very first floor, okay? Mm-hmm. Because that tone still talks to you. And so and here's where, and this is what is so important. When you pray for guidance, and you say, what do you want me to do? You'll hear it through that.
I'll hear the guidance.
Yes, you will. You will run it through because of your fear of being humiliated even by God. What if this humiliates me? Tell me you haven't done that already.
I think so.
Huh?
I think so, yeah.
You'll think, oh no, what will people say? How about that one?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay? And that comes from, and if your guidance was to say, go do this, instead of spontaneously thinking, I just heard my intuition. I've just heard a direct hit. I just heard my angel say, get going. I just got a direct hit. You'll stop and say, you'll hear that first. If it's still animated. And you'll think, what will you listen to? The first floor or a spontaneous hit of active light talking to you?
And how do we know, and how do we go
Oh, you
up
know.
the elevator?
Oh, no. When you get a hit of light, you know. Here. Have you ever, what do you know is wrong for you?
What do I know
Yeah, you know it's just wrong.
is wrong for me? To openly lie to people.
Okay, and have you openly lied to someone?
Sure.
Okay, all right. Okay, and do you ever get this hit?
Yes, of course.
That's it. That's a direct light hit from your angel. Right there. Trust me when I'm telling you. That's your angel saying, are you serious? Are you going to do this again? Which is why you feel lousy. You don't make yourself feel lousy. You have help. Yeah. Okay. And you don't have to wonder, gee, I wonder if this is authentic lousy. It's the real thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. What else? Tell me something. What else? Anyone? Yeah? Well,
Thank you. And I'd like to say this is my very first time being at one of your seminars. So April dragged me, but I'm very happy to be here.
April
So-
dragged me, but I'm happy to be here.
So,
That's a new line.
thank
What's
you.
your name?
I'm Gail.
Gail, hi.
So I could have sat with, I'm sorry? Okay. I could have sat with anybody else in this room, but the lady that we got together, we ended up talking, and we have both similar problems. So we have 2 daughters. Well, we have 3 children each, older children, and 2 of our daughters don't speak. So
Don't speak at all?
No, they're so mad at each other. So we got
Oh, I thought you meant a speech impediment.
No, they don't speak to each other because of a silly issue. So we've decided all we can do is ask God and pray for them to give us the insight of what to do, because it hurts us as mothers. We want to fix it, but we can't.
No, you can't fix that. You can't fix that.
I could have sat with anybody else, but we each have the same problem.
Damnedest thing, isn't it?
Isn't it weird?
Yeah, how about it? Now, so words were said that they can't let go of, sticky words. How perfect. But I asked about words with you.
I know, we don't have too many words.
Okay. What was said between them? Your sisters, your daughters.
My daughters. Well, it's kind of a story that...
Well, I don't need a story. Just give me because it all boils down to, in the end, this one did that. I don't need the whole story.
Right.
Just, give me a phrase.
I don't think there was so much words as the other one said, I can't talk to you about this now, so I have to let you go. And now she won't talk to her.
Okay, so the one
Because
says,
the other one hurt her. She did something to hurt her.
She
She
did
said
some-
she lied.
okay, there we
It's
go.
over a lie.
There we go. There we go. It's you didn't tell me the truth. You lied. Okay, so Bob, did she?
I'm not sure.
Is that a yes?
Well, she said she would never get a dog like that again, and she got another dog. And
Okay. Oh, oh no!
I know. But the dog attacked her daughter 2 years ago, and she had to spend 2 days in the hospital. So
Oh, so
She's
so the drama.
traumatized.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. So actually, oh no, so you attacked my daughter. The dog attacked and it was deliberate, and she's going into that parental nonsense. Oh, Christ. That's why I will never do readings on children, because of the idiocy of parents.
they're not children.
I know, but the parents are. The parents and the way they treat children as if this is the only child in the world. In order to show my love, I have to be hysterical. Ugh. Okay, so
So can you solve her problem for her?
I don't deal with hysterical parents, because they take out on others what they feel was unfulfilled in their own childhood. And so whatever message is being communicated to you, they're communicating something to you through this nonsense. So if you want them to talk, you figure out what they're trying to communicate to you. Does that make sense to you? Mama Bear?
Kind of.
Well, trust me, they're talking to you because it's something unfulfilled in their behavior that they feel was missing in their childhood, or they wouldn't be in this extreme. It's always that way. You know, blah, 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 blah. Whatever it is, it's code for this was missing in my childhood, so I'm going to be overprotective of mine and blah, 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 or mom loved you more. Some nonsense code is getting acted out there. Yeah.
I've been thinking about this before I even came here, because I love words. And I'm very triggered with the word lucky when people say, oh, you're so lucky, but I don't seem to have a problem when the word is fortunate. And so it's just something that, you know, we all have stories and we've all trudged in mud, you know, and I lead my life with a lot of inspiration and grace. Like, I am where I am right now because I do listen to my intuition, and they're like, why do you do what you do? I'm just like, because I downloaded it, because that's what I want to do, because it feels right. And they're like, oh, you're so lucky, as in luck brought me to that, and I don't really quite understand why I feel so triggered by lucky versus that's so fortunate, like that's so wonderful, like there's something a little bit lighter about it.
Because, here, that's such a good question, I love it. Lucky is a word that is first and second floor. And fortunate is a little bit higher, but if you're really, then you go to blessed.
Yeah, I always respond with, I feel so
Okay?
blessed, I am
This
blessed.
this is how holy language goes. And lucky is a down and dirty word. You know what Napoleon used to say to his generals? I don't care if you're a good general, are you lucky? And what he meant was, do you have the devil on your side or not? The luck of the devil. No one ever says you have the luck of the angels. Do they? Do they? They always say, do you have the luck of the devil? Because luck is associated with the gambler, with street, with you ran out of lady luck. It's very Vegas. It's cheap.
Yeah, it me, it's like a fluke, right?
Yes, it's fluke. It's a gambler's thing. It's very chance. It's very cheap. It's very, you can, as if you can buy luck or something like that. Yeah, it's very dirty. Right. Whereas, fortune is providence. Fortune is here, and then where did my word fortune go?
Right above.
Right there. Did I write that?
You wrote FLR.
Well, there. Yes, okay. But then we go to providence. Like the Lady of Providence. Our Lady of Providence. I was educated by the nuns of the Sisters of Providence. George Washington always believed in providence, as if something was providential or by divine guidance. Not necessarily, and providence is a holy word. So now you're into the idea that there's a divine thread involved in the course that you're on. But nobody sees a divine thread in luck. Nobody. Absolutely nobody. You have the luck of the devil. What is luck? It's a very funny thing. But if you get up to the higher altitudes, you realize nobody prays for luck. It's blasphemy. It's almost blasphemy, another holy word that you need to reinstate in your vocabulary. I have a whole list of words you're going to reinstate. But is there such a thing as blasphemy to use something inappropriate? You're damn right. Okay, so you're right to recoil and think, this isn't luck. My soul participated in the establishment of my residing in a field of grace, so don't you dare. So you're speaking from up here, and whoever says it's luck hasn't got a clue how we coordinate ourselves with the laws of the universe. See, the object now is for all of us to learn how to live in harmony with the laws of the universe. Up until now, we'll talk about this when we get back from lunch, but here's where we're going. There was once upon a time, prior to the Christian era, when I believe the era of Pythagoras and the Greeks, the era of the mystery schools, the era of the Ten Commandments, this was a time when the laws were being revealed. The era of Buddha. It was a time when heaven simply was deluging humanity with the laws, the way the laws worked, the way the universe worked. These are the laws of mathematics. This is the laws of the music of the spheres. This is the laws of like Buddha. This is the laws of thought over form. This world is an illusion. These are the Four Noble Truths. This is the law of the system. Here's the law of the chakra system. This is the law of how you're built. Here are 10 commandments that are keep this order for the law of civility. These are the laws of what the soul needs to know. This is how you're constructed. This is how thought goes into form. These are the laws. That's as simple as that. This is a law-designed universe. It's a legal system. Thought into form. Action, reaction. There's nothing complicated. Nothing. Your job is to follow the law. Jesus was a teacher of law. Moses, follow the laws. He came down from the mountain. Follow the laws. Buddha, these are the laws. Everything, rules, laws, that's all. It's not complicated. But when we decided that we could change the laws, we stepped out of nature and we became observers of nature instead of participants in nature. We decided that we were a superior species instead of a species. We decided that our role was to dominate nature instead of participate with nature. We decided that the measure of our greatness was to morph nature, control nature, bomb nature, destroy, and that if something couldn't reason, it had no value. It had no value, and we could do whatever we wanted. We decided that Earth wasn't a living organism. It wasn't a living organism. We could bomb, we could nuke it. Who the hell nukes their own home? Who does something so stupid, so fundamentally stupid? We decided we could morph our own bodies. We could do whatever we wanted. We could kill as many species as we wanted. We decided that we could redistribute the cosmos. We decided, you know what? There aren't devils. There's just angels. There's only sun, no moon. We decided we could reconstruct everything because, why, that's how we want it. That's how we want it. We decided, I don't want to watch the news. I ban all negativity from my system because I am not one with the whole. I get to stay away from negativity because that's my choice. Whereas my diet allows me to be one with the whole. I'll simply select how I'm one with the whole. I have to go in nature and hug a tree to be in nature, not standing on the earth anywhere. Because I've decided the city is not the earth, just when I'm on ground. Who thinks this way? The whole earth is the earth, but not us, because we've decided I need to be in a plant field in order for me to be on earth. This is how foolish we've become. This is how deluded we've become. This is how far and astray we have become from the truth. That what is in one is in the whole. That we are a species of nature. We are so far gone. We are so off the cliff. We are so out of the feminine and so into the rational mind that we have reached the peak of becoming irrational. We are just under the veneer of being constantly hysterical. We've never been more unhealthy. We've never been more depressed. We've never been more drug addicted. We've never been more insane. We're on the edge of barbarianism. And this is what we tell ourselves is our sophisticated rational mind. We have never been more of a culture of atheists or agnostics. Do you understand how far and astray we've become? And at the same time, we have never been more deluged with mystical truth. There's never been a time when more mystical assistance has been bubbling up inside of us. So this is the crossroads we are at. A moment of great solarization, S-O-U-L. And this is our great choice point, where you realize, oh my God, every thought I say, every thought I have, every word I have, has the power to transform everything. It's the most irrational truth at a time when people have clung to, there's a part of you that will never cling more tightly to your rational mind. Just when you need to leap into the most irrational thing you'll ever do, which is trust the power of your soul. You've never been at a more extraordinary crossroads within yourself. And that's what's going on. I think they're signaling me for lunch. So I have to let us go. So we have an hour for lunch. I'll see. Let's get back here about 1:30. Okay. Thank you.